Welcome to this explainer. It's pretty wild how much energy we spend just trying to make our lives easier, right? Today, we're diving into a deeply counterintuitive concept about human resilience, the architecture of purposeful struggle. We're going to look at why our natural instinct to obsessively dodge life's difficulties might actually be destroying our very ability to handle them. It's a massive paradigm shift in how we view the obstacles in our path. I'm so glad you're here to learn with me today, because understanding this could literally change how you approach your entire day.
Let's kick things off with a pretty heavy but absolutely undeniable truth. Life is suffering, and accepting the fact that life is a suffering is in itself a suffering. It's a total paradox, isn't it? We burn so much mental energy just wishing the road ahead of us was perfectly paved and flat. But just coming to terms with the reality of hardship, that's hard work right there. It takes a toll on us just to acknowledge that we don't get a free pass. So we're establishing a baseline here. We're starting from the premise that difficulty is woven right into the fabric of existence, and there is no cheat code to turn it off.
And that brings us to Section 1, the universal reality, and the fact that hardship doesn't discriminate. Let's look at how inescapable this baseline really is for every single one of us.
Struggle is a truly universal constant. Look, who you are, where you're located, how privileged you are, or even which country you were born in, none of these factors protect you from struggle. The source material is super explicit about this. Life is going to be difficult regardless. We so often fall into that trap of thinking, oh, if I just reach a certain status or move to the perfect neighborhood, I'll build this fortress that keeps the struggle out. But imagine someone who has accumulated massive wealth and lives in a gorgeous gated mansion. They're still entirely vulnerable to grief, existential dread, heartbreak, the whole shebang. Hardship just does not discriminate. There's literally no geographic luck or financial barrier that hands you a free pass. Sure, the struggles might change in flavor, like, say, the stress of running a massive corporation versus the stress of making rent, but the baseline reality of facing difficult, painful things remains absolutely intact.
So, because we can't escape it, our most natural human instinct is to run from it. That leads us directly into Section 2, the trap of avoidance and what happens in the vacuum of struggle.
Let's break down this cascading effect of our good intentions, particularly when it comes to the slippery slope of shielding children. Step 1 kicks off when we prevent natural struggle. You know the type, acting as snowplow parents, obsessively clearing the path of any friction so a child never feels uncomfortable. But here's the thing. Nature absolutely abhors a vacuum. Moving to step 2, because that natural friction is gone, children will inevitably find a struggle for themselves. They actually crave it on a developmental level to test their boundaries. And that leads to the tragic irony of step 3. They create useless, purposeless struggles. Because they haven't faced the necessary constructive friction of the real world, they just manufacture drama. They invent anxiety out of thin air to fill the void. Ultimately, we hit step 4. They completely fail to handle normal life. They just never built the emotional muscle to process even a simple disagreement.
This is the real kicker. By shielding people from the hard things, we accidentally make the completely normal, everyday things feel impossibly hard. The ultimate result of preventing natural struggle is failing to handle normal stuff that isn't even a struggle in the first place. Think about the gravity of that for a second. By trying to eliminate the pain of inevitable hardship, we inadvertently lower a person's tolerance so much that everyday life, going to the grocery store, getting a mildly critical email, facing a minor inconvenience like a delayed train, becomes this catastrophic event. We haven't saved them from struggle at all. We've actually just made them highly vulnerable to the mundane.
Okay, so we've clearly seen the trap. Now let's move to Section 3, the anti-fragile solution, and the highly empowering concept of choosing your hard.
To really wrap our heads around the solution, we have to look at this incredible concept of being anti-fragile. What is it? Well, it's the state of becoming stronger, adaptable, and better equipped to face inevitable life struggles as a direct result of choosing your suffering. Notice it's not just about bouncing back like a rubber band. That's mere resilience. Antifragility means actually leveling up specifically because you face the stressor. It's a lot like lifting heavy weights, right? It tears the muscle fibers so they can rebuild denser and stronger. The source strongly urges us to choose our suffering so that we become anti-fragile. Because when life is inevitably going to throw hard stuff at you anyway, passively waiting for it just makes you a victim of circumstance. But when you actively choose your suffering, whether that's the struggle of an intense workout, the struggle of learning a crazy difficult new language, or just initiating a hard but necessary conversation, you are using that chosen friction to actively build your adaptability. You are literally forging your own armor.
Let's look at this stark contrast side by side. On the one hand, we've got purposeful struggle. This is the path of choosing your hard. It's the armor you intentionally forge.
It makes you anti-fragile, it makes you adaptable, and it actively prepares you for those inevitable life struggles we talked about at the very beginning. Then, on the flip side, we have purposeless struggle. This is the tangled mess that happens when you try to avoid the hard things. You end up with this unnecessary drama that solves absolutely nothing, leaving you so fragile that normal everyday life feels totally impossible to handle. It's a very clear dichotomy. You cannot opt out of struggle entirely, you can only choose which side of the board you want to live on. You either choose the struggle that builds you, or you're going to default into the struggle that breaks you down over nothing.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. We've journeyed all the way from the inescapable reality that life is difficult, through that well-meaning but totally disastrous trap of trying to avoid it, and finally to the empowering realization that we can harness it. Choosing your suffering really is the architecture of an anti-fragile life. So I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you jump back into your day. Since hardship is coming either way, and avoiding it only makes you weaker against the mundane, what suffering will you choose today?